Me and my friend, who I'll call Fred, decided that for Halloween last year we would explore an abandoned building. Now, me and Fred are teenagers. I'm 15 and Fred is 16, which might seem weird, but now we're older. We knew we were too old to go trick-or-treating, so our abandoned building idea was the best we could come up with. So we decided to do it that night and go around exploring it. So I packed up a backpack and grabbed a flashlight. When I got outside of my house, I saw Fred was holding a camera, and I asked him what it was for. He told me he wanted to take pictures and put them on Snapchat or Facebook. So, after an eye roll, we both walked off down the street, and I saw little kids in those dumb Halloween costumes holding their candy bags. Suddenly, Fred stopped and said, "We're here." And I looked up at the building and realized it was a house. Actually, it was a 2-story house that looked like it had been painted red or some other dark color. Fred then smiled and started running so fast I had to run to keep up with him. When we got to the front door, I pulled out my flashlight from my bag, ready to use it. Fred then grabbed the doorknob, and half of me was hoping the door was locked. But it swung open, making a loud squeaking noise, and then it stopped. We both looked inside and couldn't see anything because it was so freaking dark. Fred then walked into the house and smiled, and I just stood there. My brain was doing the "this doesn't sound like a good idea" pain. Fred then turned around and asked if I was a chicken, which for some reason made me so upset that I walked into the house. I told Fred he could check upstairs and that I would check downstairs, and he agreed. We split up and went our different ways, him going up the stairs and me staying down on the first floor. As I walked around, I noticed there was a bunch of old beer bottles and cigarette boxes. Seriously, it smelled horrible in the house. Then suddenly, I stopped when I saw a door shut, and I noticed that door had a fake bat hanging from it. I then nervously walked over to the door and grabbed the knob, twisting it. When it opened, I peeked into the room and saw a set of stairs. And then I realized this was the basement. I turned around thinking about running upstairs to where Fred was, but I didn't want him to call me chicken again. So I made sure my flashlight was still on, and then I took the stairs carefully. When I got to the bottom of the stairs, I noticed a light switch, so I flipped it on, and a single light flooded the room. I turned around, my flashlight still on, and I screamed at what I saw. I felt the flashlight fall out of my hand and fall on the ground, probably breaking it, but I didn't care. Right in front of me was a body sitting in a chair, and I could tell it wasn't a fake one. I ran out of the room so fast I nearly tripped on the stairs. Then I ran into the main area. And then I heard heavy footsteps, and Fred came running down the stairs, yelling at me to get out of the house. He then shoved me hard, telling me to move, and we both ran out of the house and then down the street until we got to Fred's house and slammed the door shut. I asked him what happened as he walked into the kitchen, and then he took his hand off his arm, showing a good-sized cut on it. I was shocked, and I asked him what happened. And then he told me. He said he walked into a room upstairs, looking around, and was jumped by a man who was probably hiding somewhere in the room. He managed to stab Fred in the arm before Fred got to me and told me to leave. I sighed softly, and then decided to tell him my part of the story. After hearing it, he said we should call the police, and we did. A few hours later, they called us back, telling us the body in the basement was real, but they couldn't find that guy Fred saw. Then a few days later, I heard a news report on TV about a missing teenage girl. I looked up at the TV and realized that girl looked exactly like the dead body I found in the basement. As you can guess, Fred and I don't explore abandoned buildings anymore, but we still love doing scary things for Halloween.